Joining us now is Colby Jenkins. He is a congressional candidate in the 2nd District in Utah. You can check out his website at colbyforutah.com. Colby, welcome to the program. Tell us about yourself and your race.
Hey, thank you so much, Charlie. What a privilege and honor to be here with you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so we are Utah's 2nd Congressional District. Our primary is actually tomorrow, and voters in Utah have their mail-in ballots in hand right now. They've had them for just over 2 weeks. And so anyone within the sound of my voice who has a family member living in Utah, specifically the 2nd Congressional District, please call, please text them and encourage them, 1, to vote, and 2, to vote for me, for us, Colby Jenkins for Utah.com.
So tell us about your race. What are you standing for? What type of leader will you be in D.C.? And what do you think is the main problem? Are you going to be more in the kind of transactional Republican wing of the Republican Party, or more liberty-focused about curtailing the size and scope of the federal government?
Yeah, more of the latter, Charlie. What you're going to get and what my voters will get from me is what they've gotten for 31 years already, and that's service to this nation. I am a combat veteran, Green Beret. I swore an oath to support and defend our Constitution more than 3 decades ago, and no one has relieved me of that oath. And I look forward to now continuing that service, to defending our Constitution, not compromising on it, but actually standing up and defending it, like Senators Mike Lee, Rand Paul, Thomas Massie, Chip Roy, and others are doing in Congress. I'm looking forward to reinforcing their efforts and not being a Republican who steps away from the Republican Party, like my opponent Celeste Malloy has done time and time again, and join the Democrats in voting to pass omnibus, out-of-control spending bills that do nothing more than support the Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer policy agenda. That's not what my constituents are hiring me to do. They are hiring me to control spending, not to fund everything that the government comes asking for. And so that's what I'm looking forward to doing, standing up, defending the Constitution, controlling spending, and actually voting like a Republican should. That's what we're looking forward to doing.
So Colby, let's take the vote for money for Ukraine. Would you be in favor of more money for the Ukrainian war effort, or slowing down the amount of money we spent to Ukraine?
Zero. That's an easy answer, zero. I would vote for America first. Before we have any supplemental spending bills on the floor, I would look to America first. What are we doing to close our border? What funding are we sending to close our border? Not funding more processing facilities, which is what this last omnibus bill did, and my opponent supported. I'm going to actually fund to close the wall, to close the border, build the wall, turn off those incentives that are attracting such mass illegal immigration to our country. We need to put America first, not just in word, but actually in deed. And that's where you'll find me, falling on the side of America first before sending another dollar to the black hole, the money laundering that's happening in Ukraine.
Well, I love that. Why do you think that Republicans are so cautious at slowing down the funding of foreign wars and foreign conflicts? And thank you for your clear stance on that. But why do you think that is?
It's business as usual. You know, the establishment wants to protect that business as usual. And we are seeing it just in my race. We've seen the Speaker of the House. We've seen the other 3 members of Congress, not Senator Lee, but the other 3 House members circle the wagons around my opponent because she's a pliable vote. She's gotten in line and voted as the speakers demanded that she votes every time. We want to spend more money for everyone else. Get in line and I'll vote. That's what my opponent's been doing. And that's what too many Republicans have been doing. And we wonder why we find ourselves marching towards $35, $36 trillion in debt. It's very interesting that the Biden administration could not wait to get out of Afghanistan. And before the dust has even settled, that we're already running to a new conflict. We're already spending hundreds of billions of dollars into a black hole that is the Ukraine, and don't even pause to understand, well, what did we just come from in Afghanistan, and what fraud, waste, and loss of human life happened there. And now we're already running to get ourselves in another mess. That's not where you're going to find me. You're going to find me there asking questions and asking why.
And talk about your military service. I mean, you love the country and you've served it. A lot of veterans, when they go to D.C., they have a different approach than what you have. They actually want to fund the next war. They want to get us into another conflict. You've been endorsed by Mike Lee, Rand Paul, Vivek Ramaswamy, Senator Tuberville, the House Freedom Fund. And I think having a veteran's voice to slow down this foreign adventurism is critical right now.
Yeah, you bet. Who better than to sit in the chair on the other side of the dais, looking down at those in uniform or those in suit and tie and asking why? Why are we marching to the sound of guns again? I'm a combat veteran Green Beret. I've served in combat. I've led a team of Green Berets in Afghanistan and in South America doing counter-drug and hostage rescue operations. I actually worked in Washington, D.C. as a Green Beret liaison to Congress. I worked in the Senate for a while and then the House before being a senior advisor in the Pentagon for more than 4 years. So this will not be my first rodeo. I've seen how the sausage gets made in the Pentagon bureaucracy. So I'm excited to have the opportunity on behalf of my constituents to ask the questions, why? And to say, I don't think so. Or even better to say, that sounds great. That's solid policy that aligns with what we as conservative Republicans should support. Or to say, no, that's not okay. And so for me, you're not going to get the rubber stamp vote that you're seeing from the establishment, from the uniparty. And that's why Senator Lee, Senator Rand Paul, and others like them who've stood in the trenches defending our Constitution, who've stood and are already asking these questions, why are we doing this as a nation? They're with me. They're looking for someone else to reinforce them, to not just send the same old Republicans that will fall to the establishment like my opponent has and be a rubber stamp and just send it on down the line, business as usual. That's not what you're going to get from me.
Well, I think that's terrific. Another crisis looming right now is the southern border. Talk about your focus on what's happening with illegal immigration in this country and what you would fight for in D.C. to help slow down the invasion.
Well, we all agree that we need legal immigration. At the end of the day, we're all immigrants in some way, shape, and form. So we need legal immigration. But what we don't need is what we've had for the last 3 years. And the solution for the border begins with re-electing President Trump. Leadership matters. And then having legislators who can stand shoulder to shoulder with the new Trump administration and remove those legislative obstacles that are impairing us from turning back on Remain in Mexico, ending the catch and release program, stop funding new processing facilities. That's what the last omnibus bill funded. It didn't fund closing the wall. Chip Roy even called that out, saying this bill does nothing to secure our wall, or our border. In fact, there was actually a $500 million earmark that supported the government of Jordan and their border and their national security. Imagine what we could have done with $500 million going to our border. Those would be the kind of questions that I would be asking and actions that I would be pursuing, not being a rubber stamp like my opponent was. And now she joined every Democrat passing that $1.2 trillion omnibus bill. That's not where you're going to find me. So I'm going to be funding resources to close and build our wall, actually, and then support President Trump in the executive action that he will put back in place that we've already seen be successful earlier.
Colby, how can people support you and your website here and the call to action? And do I hear this right, that Utah has universal mail-in voting? You guys no longer have polling places. Is that right?
We do have polling places. You can actually go and vote in person tomorrow. But yeah, we have mail-in ballots, and they've been out for almost 3 weeks now. It's definitely a system that needs revisiting. To have ballots sitting out germinating in the general populace for more than 2 weeks is just asking for fraud, waste, and abuse. But so we're asking for anyone within the sound of my voice who has friends or family or who may already be in the 2nd Congressional District of Utah, our district, please vote for us. The ballots are out now. They can vote in person tomorrow. They can go to their county website and find where those locations are. But please vote now. And our website is colby4utah.com. Colby, F-O-R, Utah.com. Let us not be fooled. I am running against the establishment. Speaker Mike Johnson had a fundraiser for my opponent not too long ago in Washington, D.C., rolled out all the usual suspects, circled the gravy train, circled those wagons, but we are still fighting. And let us not forget, I've actually beaten my opponent twice head to head. Here in Southern Utah, I beat her by 12%. At our state convention, I beat her by 14%. So the voice in my district has spoken and is continuing to roll. Now we just need that final push to get us across the finish line tomorrow. And we welcome everyone's support. The grassroots are mobilized. Phone calls are being made. It's just been exciting. And I've been in combat before with real teams, but boy, the teammates and the teams that I've seen now on my campaign side are comparable to those brothers and sisters who I actually fought in combat with. And looking forward to having others
I love it.
join our A team as we go to the congressional battlefield.